attempting to make a Fruity Pebbles slushie.
Maybe you've run across one of Kyle Istook's slushy videos before, or the one where he teaches you how to make a homemade cinnamon roll from a cinnamon roll. They're all part of his unique brand of posts that might also involve him vacuum sealing just about anything, or guessing if a food item is real or cake. In fact, Kyle's off-the-wall cooking videos, which is a term he uses loosely, have helped the self-proclaimed CEO of hot dogs amass almost 1.5 million followers. I'm Mark Istook, and Kyle is the first guest here on the TikTalk Podcast, where we meet the creators that make TikTok go. Now, Kyle's account is pretty unique. You often see Kyle in his videos, but you don't usually hear from him because his posts are pretty much all action, and by his own description, they are irreverent, they're tongue-in-cheek, and he says they are fun for the whole family. Speaking of family, full disclosure, as you may have guessed based on the last name, Kyle is my brother, and he's one of my inspirations for starting this podcast in the first place. So it makes sense that he would help us kick things off here in the first episode. So despite a head cold and a bad cough, Kyle agreed to join us to talk about TikTok. So Kyle, as we begin this podcast, I think what's interesting is that for a lot of the people that follow you on social media, this is going to be the first time they've ever heard your voice.
Name's Jeff.
So just don't talk the entire podcast. It'll be consistent with your content. All right. So let's get into your content, though, because a lot of it is unique in the world of social media, in that this is not you talking to the camera. This is not you, again, sharing your voice for the most part. It's a lot of videos you've created in specific niches and genres. When did you realize that, hey, this is something that's more than just fun? I want to really kind of lean into this.
Yeah, it was a process getting there. I started out wanting to go viral on everything I posted, and I had very specific things I wanted to, be known for. I wanted, my kids. I had gone viral with my daughter Violet, one of my first virals, and I was like, okay, I could do parent stuff. And then I, used to play in bands, and so I was like, okay, I could do music stuff. I could do singing TikToks. I could do dad jokes. I could do funny food videos. And I started to see over time that TikTok can kind of guide you in the direction that they want you to go. And so then you just start doing what works because it's more fun. It's more fun when you're getting views than not getting views.
No, I mean, I think that's the feedback loop that, is social media and TikTok in general. Yeah, obviously, you've had success on a variety of platforms, but we're focused on TikTok here. What was your first post on TikTok? When did you first get on the app?
So I got TikTok. I downloaded TikTok in 2019. This is pre-COVID. Well, it may have existed, but COVID in America. And I just posted a funny video that had nothing to do with TikTok. I was like, oh, it's a video app. I can upload video. And I uploaded a video, and I had a couple friends from my contacts that it recommends you add. So I added a couple friends from my contact, and I didn't touch it for almost a year. Then, I hear about, TikTok's not just for kids anymore. TikTok is for, people of all ages. So, I'm in my 30s. I'm not as hip with the younger social media.
The kids these days. So I just noticed some of my friends were reposting TikToks on Instagram and Facebook. And I thought, I like editing video. I like that I could put out different kinds of content than I do on Instagram and Twitter. And Twitter was never really for me. It never really fit in my style. Instagram is awesome, but I wasn't really into like photography. But in college, I started out radio, TV, film. So I was all into like video editing and things like that. And I had a lot of experience doing video editing. So I thought, okay, this is cool. It's an app that uses music and video. And so I hopped on, I guess it was September of 2020. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are working from home. A lot of people my age were using TikTok. So I just tried it, and I'm trying to think what my first video was. I think it was a video of Violet and I dancing to some Jason Derulo song. So you said fall of 2020 when you kind of really started getting into it. Here we are. This is July of 2022. 1 million plus followers. When did you realize, when was the moment, aside from the fact that you liked what TikTok allowed you to do from a creative perspective, when was the moment that you thought, oh, this could be more than just something that's fun to do?
Yeah. I'd say probably once I got into the 200,000-300,000 follower range.
So 50,000 followers, you didn't think that? 10,000 followers?
I didn't think that I would take it this far because you grow in pockets. So you'll have some viral videos and you'll gain X number of followers. So, I hit 50,000 followers. I was like, this is amazing.
What do I do with it?
Yeah. I always wanted to hit 1 million followers, but I never thought it would really happen. And I started going live a lot on Instagram, and I would go live every night for a while. And I had a small group of friends and followers that would join me and get to know about them, and they'd get to know about my family. And it was kind of this tight-knit group. And some of them were like, you're going to be TikTok famous. You're going to get 1 million followers. And I was like, I don't know. And I just kept obsessing over it and posting every day and making content. And there was a turn probably in the fall of 2021 where I decided that I was going to stop focusing on going live, and I was going to take that time every night to making good content, putting time into content. Before I did a lot of what I would call kind of blow off posts, like something easy, like, oh, that's funny, I'm going to duet it, and don't really add any value, or posts that I knew wouldn't really get a lot of views. And I was like, you know what if I actually put time and effort and edited every video outside of the app, made good content? Good content doesn't
relative.
Mean, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to like it, but it means that I spend time on it, meticulous. I make sure my shots and my lighting, my editing is good, my sounds are good. Now the topic of content, that's, comedy is the eye of the beholder. So good content to me means content that you've put time into, and you're making sure it checks all the boxes, and it's part of a growth strategy.
Yeah. I mean, for people who are not that familiar with your content, who haven't followed you or seen your videos, which, by the way, it's a little bit of a side. What's funny to me is I'll run across videos in other apps and Instagram or whatever, and obviously I follow you, but it'll use your audio. And that's always funny to me to be like, oh, there's my brother's audio. It just showed up randomly, not just because I follow you, but because someone else has used it and it's gone viral for them too. But for people who don't follow you, how would you describe your niche? Or I guess right now it's plural niches, because you have a few different types of videos that you right now tend to post varieties of over and over. Yeah.
So in general, I make food comedy videos, and I do parody cooking videos. I make aesthetically pleasing Jell-O videos.
Who knew that was a thing?
I know. I guess it's a new niche maybe. And I do vacuum sealing videos. I do what are called like satisfying videos. A little bit of the ASMR, but not, tapping the microphone and stuff like that. But ASMR to me means it's visually, catches your attention visually, and the audio is,
you might want to have your headphones on when you listen to it. Well, because you started some of the videos that really went big for you early on, hot dog videos, random stuff with hot dogs, putting hot dogs in foods that they have no business being in. And you, not to be negative about it, but I think you kind of leaned into the absurdity of it, right? I mean, like the vast variety of ways you could cook a hot dog. You wanted to explore that. And I mean, almost like, Bubba Gump with the shrimp, popcorn shrimp, butterflied shrimp, fried shrimp. You were doing that with hot dogs. And I remember seeing some of it at first, and you're scratching your head about it. But when you see the 30th video, I think you kind of realize it takes a lot of creativity to really explore that. And I think for people that followed you, they thought it got funnier and funnier and funnier. And then you've been able to do the same thing with some of the other, food niches.
What I decided a long time ago to be unapologetic about my content, to make content with multiple goals. One goal is growth of my page. Another goal is there's some financial gain. There's when you're part of the creator fund, you get a revenue stream from content. So I have the satisfaction of putting content out there that people enjoy. Doesn't mean everybody enjoys it, but I get people that are like constantly giving me recommendations. Ooh, try this, vacuum seal this. Can you make homemade this? And they love seeing it, and it's funny to them, and it's funny to me. And I love humor that not everybody else loves. Like, have you heard of Tim and Eric?
Yeah.
Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim on Comedy Central had this Tim and Eric Awesome show, and they've been in some movies and they've done a lot of different things. They've been a big part of Comedy Central, but Tim and Eric make comedy that is only palatable to a certain type of person.
Well, basically, if they think it's funny to them, they think there are other people like us out there that'll think this is funny too. But I think to pull away and kind of look at the big picture, you could make the argument that life is hard. We're in the middle of the beginnings of a recession. Maybe inflation's going through the roof. People have come out of COVID, and sometimes if you can look at something for 15 minutes and 15 seconds on TikTok and laugh, that may be a bright spot in somebody's day. And I think the engagement that you've gotten really backs that up. That you have people who are in on the joke and think it's really funny and egg it on, and people who aren't in on the joke, which hate comment, and that's kind of funny too, that they don't get that all this is tongue in cheek. And I think it would be safe to say you take what you do seriously, you don't take yourself too seriously.
Absolutely.
It seems like it's that split right there.
Right.
And I think that's what's been funny to see some of the videos where all the vacuum sealing videos, at some point, like, how many different ways can you vacuum seal things until you vacuum seal a vacuum sealer?
Which was highly requested for a long time. And I never did it until I needed a new vacuum sealer. So I bought the replacement, and then I thought, I'm going to vacuum seal the old one.
You should vacuum seal a vacuum sealer inside a vacuum sealer, right?
I also thought about putting them against each other and putting an open-ended vacuum seal bag and starting them both and see if one pulls the other one. Vacuum sealer wars.
It's like the Levi's logo where it's got the two mules pulling the Levi's apart.
Yeah. But with that, at the end of the day, it is about entertainment. And people are like, why would you spend so much time making food the wrong way or making a recipe where you do all these extra steps? And it's for entertainment. It's because I think it's funny. Some people think it's funny, and those people like to watch it.
Well, and let's, just from a brass tacks perspective too, there's revenue behind it. And so when you divide that revenue by how many hours it takes you to do it, at some point the light bulb turns on and you're like, wait a second. On a per hour basis, this isn't too bad.
Yeah.
So
it took a long time to have any amount of revenue. I mean, you hear about the Creator Fund. I've heard good and bad. And the Creator Fund, for those who don't know, is TikTok's revenue share based on views and watch time of your content. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it's great or it's bad. It's money for things that you're doing for free. You're putting content out for free. I don't get paid to make a Twitter post, a tweet, so it's pretty amazing that you can get paid to put a piece of content on social media using a sound that you have nothing to do with. It's some licensed song that you're able to use. And anyways, with that being said, it's not some substantial amount of money that you get from the Creator Fund or the TikTok bonus fund, TikTok Reels bonus, but it's a little something, and that helps offset the amount of time spent on making content.
Well, you talked about this content that you're putting out there, for free, basically, and people consume it for free, and you're using sounds that TikTok has licensed for people to use. But I know one thing that you've run into and has been a big topic of discussion on TikTok lately in general. It's been for a while, but especially lately, you have a couple of high-profile examples of people stealing other people's content, not just doing the lip sync voiceover thing, which is a whole nother conversation, but literally someone posts a TikTok, a concept, and someone takes it word for word. They reenact it, give no credit to the creator, and try to build clout off of that. Right. Where's the line on that?
That's really tricky, because sometimes you come across a trend that somebody started.
Right.
And you start to see a lot of videos.
The mannequin challenge. There have been a million challenges.
And so you see enough of those videos, you're like, I have no idea who started that, but I want to be a part of the trend. I have an idea. So maybe you copy someone else's idea that you've seen multiple times. Is that theft? My opinion is that a trend, it's not theft. You may be kind of ripping off an idea, but a trend in essence is meant for a lot of people to do a similar thing. It's a trend, you know. When it is an original piece of content that somebody copies, that's unethical in my opinion. If you're going to do that, you should tag the person. Yeah, you're not losing out on money. You're not sharing the revenue. Just tag them. In fact, what it can do is it can bring them more followers. It can people might respect your page more. I know a lot of, you come up with 2 or 3 videos every day. It gets really hard to be super original. So I'm using other people's ideas also, and I tag them. It's just kind of part of the creator code in my opinion. And you have people that don't always follow the code.
And what do you do in those situations?
So, if somebody, you have all these video aggregator sites that will straight up illegally download your content with no watermark and repost it. In those cases, you can DM or message them and say, hey, that's my content. Please tag me. And a lot of the times they don't know where it came from because they stole it from someone else. So in cases like that, if they give credit, in my opinion, I'm like, okay, at least you did the bare minimum. Thank you. In other cases, you file a takedown notice. If they have reposted your content, most platforms will remove it. So that's good. In some cases, the profiles will be taken down if they
do it repeatedly.
Yeah.
Because usually if somebody's stealing content, they're not just stealing one piece of content.
Right.
That's their whole shtick.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's a gray area on this because at the end of the day, you're talking about snippets of audio, you're talking about ideas and concepts and IP, intellectual property, copyright law is not settled to begin with. It's on a continuum that people battle out in court and have been for a long time and will continue to. So you're getting into even more gray areas here. But I think you're seeing some of it on TikTok lately, like I mentioned, a couple of high profile examples with people just ripping off concepts word for word, taking someone's words, putting them in their own skits, sketches, whatever. And it's interesting to see how that continues. But I do want to talk a little bit about, branching out to other social media networks. Obviously, again, TikTok focused, but you have found that when it comes to strategies for Instagram, for, posting on Facebook, et cetera, that, what works in one medium doesn't always work in another.
Right. Absolutely. So, TikTok was kind of the originator of the algorithm, the fast videos that are short form, vertical videos, that has an algorithm that delivers unique content to each person based on their viewer preferences.
And real quick, I think we saw the beginnings of how popular TikTok could be with Vine, because you saw some really creative people in 6 seconds do awesome stuff. I mean, not everything on there was great, but there was some really cool stuff. Yeah. And I'd like to say that, TikTok is one of the best TV shows around because you can sit down for half an hour and watch just really, really impressive, creative content that you can't find anyplace else. But again, what works on TikTok does not always work on Instagram Reels, et cetera.
Right. So you're absolutely right about Vine. Vine was the first, video focused, quick, great for, the ADD generation. And unfortunately, it went under. And I was so big of a fan of Vine, and I had so many creators that I followed, and some of them I follow on other platforms, and some of them didn't really go forward. But that Vine is like, history right there. So, TikTok perfected this algorithm. Then Instagram did Instagram Reels, and it was, the same concept. And then YouTube created YouTube Shorts, Snapchat. I don't remember what theirs is called.
Stories.
And then Facebook Reels. So what you do see is a lot of TikTok trends migrate to those other platforms. I don't really see it the other way around because, TikTok is just so big and has over 1 billion users.
the creative control that you have on TikTok from a video editing standpoint, from a filter standpoint, and it feels like there are constantly more and more filters and more ways to create your video. It seems like it's a no-brainer that that's where so much of it originates.
Yeah. So I've recently decided to move outside of just TikTok, and I've built out my Instagram profile and Facebook profile and YouTube, and I've been posting a lot of my content in those places as well, and some new content. And what I found is that there are different strategies for each platform. A lot of times Instagram will have similar trends and sounds to TikTok, but it's done a little bit differently. Like you can do duets, and they call them remixes on Instagram Reels. So, the balance is figuring out if you want to take a piece of content from one platform and completely repost it, or if you want to take the video and repost it with a different sound, different text, edit it differently. And it's different for each platform. YouTube Shorts doesn't let you bring in any audio. You'll get instantly flagged for like a copyright violation. So you always have to add their YouTube Shorts audio. The formatting is different. You just have to kind of learn when to use hashtags. How do you tag people differently? A lot of times good content is universal, so it can translate. Another thing about Facebook or about YouTube is you have long form videos, and that's the widescreen dimensions. It's not the vertical. The content is longer. So sometimes I can take a piece of content and I can edit it for TikTok, and then I can make a long version for YouTube, and I change the screen dimensions. I add like royalty-free music, and I'll post it on YouTube, and I have to make a custom thumbnail and a bunch of tags and descriptions. It is a lot of work. But I've been very fortunate that my Instagram account, I recently broke 100,000 followers. My YouTube, I just broke 20,000 followers. So my goal is to not just be a TikTok personality. I want to be present on, all the social media channels. I want to be on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I want people to follow me.
MySpace, Friendster, LinkedIn,
bring Vine
Farmers
back.
Only.
Oh my God. JDate.
Why not?
So I've been building out my profiles and posting heavily everywhere. My Instagram recently passed 100,000 followers. My YouTube passed 20,000 followers. So I'm kind of building those from the ground up, figuring out what works. And I've got some friends that are giving me advice. I've got a friend, their TikTok account is Foodies, and they have over 20 million followers, and they're telling me what works on the different platforms. Great. And you know what? They're saying push YouTube Shorts. That's everywhere here, push YouTube Shorts. And my other friend, 614 Life, Noah Klein, he does similar content type, creative food stuff. He's been around for a while, and he's given me great advice as well.
Does YouTube Shorts let you basically, duet? They have a version of duetting video like
I don't think duets are a thing yet.
Not yet, but it will be.
Yes,
it'll be there eventually.
I assume
they're all going to copy each other.
They don't tell me, but I assume that's coming.
Well, the challenge videos would be harder on YouTube Shorts if you can't do it that way. Right. when you post some, copy the song, whatever, that works so well on TikTok. You mentioned that account. What are some of your favorite TikTok follows?
People that I follow?
Yeah. Who are some of your favorites?
Ramen King Ivan is doing great things. Anybody that loves ramen,
really
or
good
food,
things in the world of ramen TikToking.
I'm telling you. You think, okay, a ramen profile. This guy, he cooks ramen. Okay. You're like, okay, I like ramen. What, you put like the packets in it. Maybe you do like some pork belly. It's some of the most creative videos I've ever seen are from the Ramen King Ivan he's doing God's work with ramen. I'm telling you.
But that, real quickly, I do think for people who aren't on TikTok, and I would imagine if you're listening to this podcast, you are, but I feel like I say it till I'm blue in the face. Don't knock it until you tried it. A lot of times you'll get on TikTok, for people who are new, it's a mess. Because you haven't built up your feed yet. You haven't liked videos, you haven't shared them, you haven't interacted with them. But once you start doing that, and once they figure out your preferences, it is a gold mine of niche videos and of creativity. And yes, it is a world where a ramen TikToker could develop a big following and make a living at it. what a random niche that is in the food world, but someone's doing it.
Right. And one of the things that makes somebody a great TikToker is adaptability. The ability to take recommendations and build out these creative videos from them, make your own world. You know, this guy is selling merch. He's got over 7 million followers just on TikTok. He's the kind of page that every time he posts a video, you're like, okay, I got to go to his page, watch it. Mm-hmm. They're creative, great quality. You know, he's doing it full time. He quit his job and he's doing it. You know, it's pretty amazing. It's super creative. And then you see collaborations. You see people, every ramen video he's getting tagged on. He'll do comment responses, or he'll do duets to these different ramen videos. And he's starting his own trends too. So I pull inspiration from people like him. I pull inspiration from, you know, the ridiculous videos I see, from trends. I pull a lot of inspiration from my own followers, from their recommendations, you know, and that's why I want my followers to feel like they're heard. Of course, I can't go like respond to every comment and like every single comment, but, you know, I think people see that I do a lot of comment responses, and that's, you know, a big part of my strategy is letting my followers know that they are a part of it. And that's why a lot of times I say, what should we try next? I could easily say, hey, what do you want me to do next? Right. But I say, what should we try next? And the we, I don't know if this is the right word, but it's pejorative. Is that a thing?
I think that would be if you meant it negatively.
Okay,
if it had a negative
then
connotation.
it's not that word.
It's welcoming.
Yes.
People feel like, oh, we're on team Kyle.
Yeah. So anytime someone's like, what do you mean we? What should we try next? And for those of you who don't know, that's kind of a tagline I say a lot at the end of a lot of my videos. I say, what should we try next? Because I want my followers to feel like they're part of the experience.
It is interesting that you mentioned the adaptability, because when you have a niche, part of, you know, building a following is leaning into that niche and really being consistent. But so it's almost a double-edged sword. You've got to be consistent in what you create, but also adaptable to know when something catches and something works.
Yes, and to change when something is starting to trail off or not work, and when to keep pushing through, because sometimes you'll have a concept that starts to taper off, and then you post a little bit more, and then it takes off again.
I've seen that in my own feed, content that I've created. And look, I don't have anywhere near the engagement or the views that you do, but something I posted that had a view count in the hundreds for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden it spikes out of nowhere, and you're not sure why. But I think that speaks to the randomness that is TikTok, and how people get discovered and how content gets discovered.
Yeah. And for those of you who do make content and sometimes you're discouraged about views, you may get no views in the first couple hours, the first couple days, and then all of a sudden you get a random pop on a video. I call it a pop when a video hits.
Yeah.
You know? So my advice is to don't be so discouraged, and don't always like delete your videos. I recommend privating videos instead of deleting, and that way it still exists in TikTok and you can go pull it back out of private. I've had videos that I thought were kind of a flop. I privated them. Later on, I got a second
wind, maybe.
Yeah. and I put it back out, and then it hits and it does well. And, so my advice is don't be too discouraged. I've had a lot of times in the past when I was kind of learning how to do it and learning what I wanted to do, where I was deleting content, reposting it. Delete, repost. And it was like every time you repost, the views go down and down. And your followers get annoyed with it.
Yeah.
So your followers are like the first line to see your video. So you want your followers to like the content you put out, because then TikTok can put it out to more and more and more people outside of that. So kind of rambling there, but
yeah, but those are some good tips. Anything else that you can think of that comes to mind for people who are trying to grow their account, to find their niche when it comes to their content creation?
Yeah. Listen to your followers, listen to views, but don't make every decision based on views. Views can help guide you into making improvements in your content, improving your strategy, picking better sounds, seeing what works and doesn't work. But don't look at views as the end all be all in TikTok.
What has been the most difficult part of the experience? Is there a grind to you that stands out as being, oh, this is the worst part about it? Or was there a period of time when you look back, you're like, oh man, that was really hard?
I think getting through the slumps is always hard. I call it the post-viral slump. You're viral.
You think they're all going to hit.
Yeah. So if you're going viral on a video, and viral is relative, viral could mean 1 million views. It could mean 50,000 views. It could mean 10 million views, relative to the size of your audience. Mm-hmm. When you're going viral, you'll see that a lot of your other videos will get a push because people are coming to your page, they're watching other stuff, mm-hmm. and TikTok just kind of, gives your page momentum. So it feels like everything you post is gold. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden that one video or that group of videos stops being viral and your momentum slows down. Maybe some of your views just tank and you have a hard time getting through it. And it could last days, could last weeks, months. So pushing through the slow times would definitely be the hardest part of being a content creator. But then on the opposite side of the spectrum, when you are actively viral, you need to take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. It's an opportunity to grow. It's an opportunity to get more views on different types of content.
People are landing on your page.
Yeah.
They're checking you out. Yeah. Give them something they want to subscribe to.
So, you could utilize the comment response feature. I recommend any video that's viral on your page, you do a comment response to. Mm-hmm. And the comment response should be either a similar video or a direct response to that particular.
Hey, so-and-so asked me about this, blah, 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 or so-and-so thought I should this. And you know.
Yeah. I mean, that's TikTok strategy 101 is use video responses to increase engagement, to increase, traffic to your page. A lot of times I'll do like a chain of viral videos that are all connected to each other. Maybe I vacuum seal something and someone's like, try this. And I do a comment response and that one hits. Then I do another comment response and you make like a whole series out of comment responses to a viral video.
And how often are you posting? Because I know you were on vacation out of the country recently and still my feed, I'm getting posts multiple times a day.
2 to 3 times a day is pretty much my average. I recently went on a cruise with my wife. Mm-hmm. It was a nice, relaxing 8-night cruise. And I bought the Wi-Fi package because I knew that I was going to post on TikTok. So I wrote it off as a business expense. I filmed a lot of footage the weeks leading up to that, probably a couple hours worth of footage. And some videos I edited before I left for the cruise. Some videos I was editing on the cruise, but I was still able to post, I'd say probably 1 to 3 a day and keep up appearances, keep views going. I just didn't want to go on vacation. My views just drop and then my page loses momentum. So I wanted to keep up, a consistent strategy. And consistent strategy means something different for everybody. If I post twice a week, then that's what I should continue to do when I'm on vacation. If I want to keep up consistency and momentum. So since I post a lot, I knew that if I wanted to keep the same momentum on my page, I'm going to need to post that many times. And my wife is understanding because TikTok helped pay for our trip. So she was understanding about it. And it's kind of a part-time gig. It's kind of, something that, outside of my work and family life, it's part hobby, part-time job.
Sure.
So I post a lot, keep momentum up. And I was in Aruba and Haiti and on the ocean posting TikToks.
Yeah, you got to feed the algorithm no matter where you are.
That's right.
Worldwide, global. How much time would you say you are spending on TikTok a month as a viewer? And how much time would you say you're spending creating videos?
So I think it's important for every creator to spend a lot of time on the For You page watching videos to see, what's the temperature of TikTok, what trends are hot, what sounds are hot, because it's really easy to just focus on your content and then you kind of lose touch a little bit. And then you get to the point where you're only using old sounds that you've used before. Your content kind of starts to repeat itself. And that happens to me all the time where I kind of get in the feedback loop where I'm just doing my own thing, not paying attention to what's popular on TikTok. So then I have to step back and say, okay, I'm gonna watch, the For You page for an hour.
Kind of put your finger in the air and see what's going on.
Yeah, find some trends. In fact, today, I didn't have any new content to post today. this morning before work, I was scrolling my For You page and I found this trend that I saw several videos. And for the past week, I've seen some of these videos. It is somebody laying on the ground and they say, I'm trying to remember, I think they say, I'm thirsty. And then someone dumps a big bucket of water on their face and then they go, satisfying. And it was from some cartoon audio. So I clicked the sound and it had 150,000 videos over the course of a couple months. And so I go, you know what? I have an old video that I filmed that would fit perfectly with the sound. So in like 5 minutes, I threw that video on that sound, posted it, and like instantly it started getting views because it was like a current trend. So, you know, my advice is creators, watch the For You page, see what's happening out there, and, you know, stay current.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you had to ballpark, you know, how many hours a week you're watching videos, I mean, it's easy to put in a half hour a day.
Yeah.
Or a half hour in a setting. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd say I probably watch TikTok a couple hours a week.
Yeah.
It's, you know.
But, you know, when you have 5, 10, 15, 30 second, 60 second videos, that's a fair number of content you can get through.
Yeah.
Pieces of content you can get through in that period of time.
Yeah. So I'm spending a couple hours watching and several hours making content, several hours editing, posting, all that stuff.
What's on your TikTok to-do list? Do you have like this set of goals? I want to create this kind of video. I want to hit this milestone in terms of view count, in terms of follower count.
Yeah. So I've had, you know, call it a bucket list for a long time, and I keep checking things off and kind of, you know, increasing that bucket list, going on to the next thing. So, you know, I've had some pretty cool milestones that were on my bucket list. The Italian duo, Lionfield Music. Mm-hmm. It's these Italian guys. Some people call them brothers. I'm not sure if they're brothers, but they react to anything Italian food related that's like not quite authentic. Yeah. They're reacting to. So I've been fortunate enough to have them duet several of my videos, and that was awesome.
Gordon Ramsay?
Okay, he was the like mecca. He was
like the moonshot.
Yeah. So Gordon Ramsay, over a year ago, I posted a series of videos with the sole purpose of getting Gordon Ramsay to duet.
Right.
And I think the tagline was something like posting every day until Gordon Ramsay duets, and he didn't do it after like 20 days, so I abandoned it. But
like at some point it starts to get kind of sad.
Yeah. So so my goal all along was to get Gordon Ramsay to duet because he's hilarious. And it, you know, people are like, why do you want him to duet your food? He's going to tear it apart. And
okay.
Yeah.
So what?
It's funny because it's entertaining.
Right.
You know?
If you're going to get roasted, it's like if you're a singer, if someone's going to roast you, it should be Simon Cowell.
Yes.
You know, absolutely. If someone's going to roast your cooking, no pun intended, it should be Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. So I had to do some strategy here, and I posted numerous videos where I tagged him or I put hashtag Ramsay React, and, you know, I never heard from him, never heard from his people. He's got over 30 million followers, you know? So, you know, I broke 1 million followers and I'm like, okay, more people are seeing my content. Maybe he'll see it. Maybe his daughter, maybe his team will see it. And I know that he's famous for his beef Wellington recipe. Well, what's more of an attention grabber than a hot dog Wellington? I can't think of much. So I actually studied his recipe and I came up with, you know, a comical, in my opinion, hot dog recipe for hot dog Wellington. And it did involve smashing hot dogs in a mortar and pestle to come up with a hot dog paste to replace his mushroom paste. And instead of a crescent roll, or what's the puff pastry? Instead of
puff pastry.
Yeah. Instead of puff pastry wrap, I wrapped it in a hot dog bun, in rolled out hot dog bun sheet. So I made a hot dog Wellington, and I tagged him, and in the text on the video, I say, Gordon Ramsay, please rate my hot dog Wellington. And it did well. It got a couple million views, and months go by, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'll never see it. Until one day...
You get a little notification.
I get a notification.
What?
And the notification said, Gordon Ramsay has duetted your video 5 minutes ago and has over 5,000 likes. So I knew it had. I knew his video was pretty awesome. I checked it out and it was hilarious. He just rips apart my cooking as expected. Puts out some great one-liners, and then I duetted that, and my duet of his duet did well, and so he was. That was my goal all along, was to get over 1 million followers and a Gordon Ramsay duet. So, as far as I'm concerned, I have, dreams have come true for me on TikTok because those two things happened. And
everything from here is gravy.
Yeah.
Which,
really.
that's actually an idea for niche food content.
Yeah.
Just pour gravy on anything. Have you vacuum sealed gravy?
I have not.
Not yet.
I mean, there's so many different gravies. Sausage gravy.
And just tag me when you do that.
Yeah. Brown gravy. The gravy with the eggs in it.
Yeah. The white gravy.
Yeah. Yep. So many. You could make it colors. Purple gravy. So yeah, my goal, 1 million followers. I ramped up my content to get to 1 million followers, and I didn't know what was next. But it turns out what was next was just keeping it going and raising the bar. So from 1 million, it was 1.1, 1.2. So right now I'm at 1.4. My next goal is 2 million followers.
Yeah.
And what's next after that? Just keep going. I mean, the bar is gonna keep raising. And it's kind of a challenge. It's a personal goal. So
yeah. Well, I hope it does. Selfishly, I definitely hope it does for you, because it's been cool to see the progression. It's been cool to see the creativity, and I think even watching you, I'm biased. You're my brother, obviously. Watching you find the niche and figure out what works, because I think you saw some of the hot dog ones, and some of them were really funny, and some were early on in TikTok, you saw stuff and you couldn't understand how it got likes and how it hit for people. But even seeing the progression, and I thought the vacuum sealing videos, man, when you vacuum seal the vacuum sealer, that to me was just peak vacuum. It definitely didn't suck.
It was meta.
Ironically. Yes, it was meta beyond belief. But it's been cool to see the growth, and it's been cool to see the interaction. I think ultimately that's what's so fun about some of this stuff is the community. And look, like I said before, life is hard, and there are no doubt more productive things we can be doing in the world on occasion, but spending some time with people, sharing in some fun videos, some really creative content on TikTok, and having a bright spot in your day, not a terrible way to spend some time. So. Yeah,
absolutely. I did want to make one more point about my content. We talked about what types of content I do. My content is goofy. It's entertaining, and it's all ages. And there are a lot of kids on TikTok that shouldn't have a TikTok. I think TikTok age limit is 13. Everybody has a TikTok, right? So you have kids that are seeing all these trends and adult topics. And I just want to be a safe place where anybody can watch my content. Maybe they're offended by the recipe, but they're not going to be offended by the language or,
what you did to that hot dog was obscene.
Early on, I had done some stuff with alcohol. I don't do any alcohol in my videos. I don't cuss. It's clean. It's family friendly. And it's really just there for people to enjoy and be entertained.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a brand that has worked, and hopefully will continue to work. But I'm proud of you, bro.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
I love you.
Love you, bro. Again, a special thanks to Kyle for fighting through a head cold to show up for this episode. If you're not following him yet, you can check him out on TikTok at Kyle Istook. Of course, he's easy to find on Instagram and YouTube as well. And who knows, maybe pretty soon you'll be asking yourself if it's real or cake. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you will subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you have questions or comments or recommendations for future guests, I'd love to hear it all. You can find me online at Mark Istook. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to the TikTalk Podcast.